and welcome to the Jettcast. My name is Jeffrey. We are at episode 2 of this lovely venture, and I'm thankful for y'all for sticking around and coming on board. It's been an interesting time. You know, when I first started all this back in December, you always kind of think you're hopeful that you can keep this going, and so far, 2 videos, 2 podcasts. So hopefully February can continue that motion going. I already know because I've got my video for February, getting it all set up. Got all the video clips taken, and just gotta write the script, record the voice, and we're golden. So yeah, I want to thank everyone who's been listening, whether you've watched my videos or listened to the podcast. Been very appreciative. And again, if you've got tips or feedback with regards to what you want to see with regard to this, we have a comment section down below. Feel free to respond with how you feel. So this episode, we're gonna focus on 3 things I had. Last time we talked about kind of Christmas. I did my little giveaway. Some people got some prizes. I read aloud a lot of wonderful stories. I talked about the game awards, and a few other things happened. But this time, it might be a little bit shorter in length. We'll see. I'll have timestamps down below if you want to skip to a particular portion. But yeah, so this time we'll be talking about the New Year's, how things have been since New Year's begun. To also touch on, obviously, Smash Brothers with what my video has done, and as well as what has happened with the Smash Bros. Community since. And then we'll finally wrap ourselves back around talking about Star Wars. As I remember last time I said I went to go see The Rise of Skywalker, and I have had my thoughts marinate a bit, and now I'll use the platform at the end to talk about all that. So now we will transition ourselves into the new year. So for New Year's, I remember I recorded my last podcast like right when Christmas was done. I think maybe a couple days after. I remember because I went to go see Star Wars, and then that was on Christmas Day, and then a couple days later I finally recorded it and pushed it out. But then that wasn't really my proper Christmas. I was going to go see my family. I live in the mid United States, and I went more south to go see my folks. I don't want to give my location away too much. I went south to go see my folks. I went to go see everybody. I have 2 older brothers, and they both have a wife. They're both married, and and one of my brothers has a son. My godson, my nephew, Hank. And it's always nice, always wonderful to see him. Always wonderful to see everybody. Got to have a proper Christmas at that point. Like I said, I had Christmas in my neck of the woods, and my brothers had them with their in-laws. But then we all came together the following week, and we got to have Christmas proper with the whole family, and that was wonderful. Exchanged a lot of gifts. I got some nice stuff. I would say the biggest things I got were I got a subscription to HelloFresh, which is one of those meal making plans that you can get where you order online. And I just ordered my first helping. I got 4 meals meant for 2 people, so really 8 meals for me. And so that'll last me a while, thankfully. And then I can set up a plan to how long they want to deliver for. I had to make the food myself, but they're simple instructions. They send all the food to me. It's a very well done plan. And for this first trial, because I was a first customer, I essentially got it mostly free. Like I would say, I think a meal is about $20, $25 for all the ingredients. So I think I got a $60 card, and I got 4 meals, ended up costing me all $20. And it's a lot of really good meals, like pastrami chicken, ravioli, some really nice burgers, just a lot of interesting stuff that I look forward to making later on. When I get home, now I have to go off the couch and actually start cooking, as opposed to just, throwing stuff in the microwave, or just making my nice patented Jeff chili, which is, if you're interested, just here's the recipe. Go get a can of Wolf brand chili, get some hot sauce, and get some chili mix. mix half the chili mix inside, stir it up, put in like 7 shakes of a hot sauce bottle, and it's very spicy. Get yourself some Fritos or some chips, and get yourself some like pieces of bread. Make like a nice folded half sandwich, and it's wonderful. I have that like once a week, and I always like chili, always fun. But one of the other big things is I have my brother went to go found this really cool website where they have a lot of clothes, but this really interesting sweatshirt that is also a blanket. It's like you put it on and it's very thick, but it feels like a blanket. It feels like remember, if you recall back in the days, there was a advertisement for this thing called a Snuggie, where basically just it's a big blanket that's like pajamas. Just wrap yourself in it, and it's wonderful. This is maybe half of that. It's just a sweatshirt, so it's just covering my torso. But man, is it's just wonderful. I'm just enjoying its comfort. I'm wearing it right now. I've worn it almost every day because it's cold outside, but it's just beautiful to try on and have around the house. And I just have a constant blanket on top of me. It's great. One of the notable gifts I gave to my brother, I think I talked about in the last podcast, I gave my brother and his wife a fire pit. And it was really like that was something that's been tucked away in my mom and dad's garage for the past couple weeks, about a month, and I'm so glad that it didn't get like spoiled or anything, and their reaction was nice. And then, but what the other thing was the fire pit came in a big box, and we were like hopeful, we were like uneasy that it was going to fit in my brother's car. But fortunately, we found just it was the perfect size to where it wouldn't like be obtrusive when entering a trunk. So we put it inside, all easy peasy. And then I went after Christmas that night. Everybody went home. Then the next day, I got up, had breakfast with my mom and dad, and then I went on the road back home. And when I got home, I got a text saying, like, I was texting my family saying, I made it home, all safe and sound. And my brother responded, hey, thanks for the Christmas gift. And he showed the fire pit complete, like on his patio. And it was like, dang, because that's probably not the easiest of tasks. Like I've put together things, or I've taken, many hours to put together certain things. The gaming chair I'm sitting on right now definitely took a couple hours to put together. And there's never easy tasks to put together just something. It's always kind of a thing you have to set aside your time to do. It's not something you can spend a little time here, come back, spend a little time there, dabble back and forth. So I'm glad he just found the time that Saturday or Sunday just to do it. So that's the extent of my new year. Like I went down there early January, got back home around January 6th, January 7th, and then went back to work. And work's been all right. It's been definitely different because I am the head. I'm kind of the head engineer of my team. We've had a lot of changes in the engineering team over the last couple of years, to the point right now where we only have 2 people, and they've only been on board for 6 months. So I'm basically their kind of teacher, but at the same time, being the head engineer, I've also got my plate is full with tasks of my own, and you just have to try to strike that nice balance but also the thing is, January is kind of a slower time. So when there's not a lot of work to train them with, it becomes tough to like kind of make sure their plates are full as well. So that's been kind of a tough but fun struggle. But I know it's going to be better come February because they'll be starting to go on trips. And thankfully for me, my trip schedule is going to be very, very barren. My first trip is in May for the time being, knock on wood, because things can change the drop of a hat. And they could update my schedule and be like, okay, you're going on this trip now. And like within like 2 weeks notice. I've actually had that before. And that's not fun to get those 2 weeks notice of trips. I mean, 2 weeks notice of anything, like 2 weeks of like, okay, you're only going to be employed for 2 weeks, or you've got 2 weeks to do this task, or you're going on a trip in 2 weeks. It's never fun just to hear that. I mean, I guess it's good to like give you notice, but even then, you're kind of like spending those 2 weeks kind of dreading it, and you're also kind of wishing you were maybe told a little bit earlier so you have more time to prepare. But I digress. So yeah, that was just the extent of my vacation, as well as doing well, just kind of getting back to the swing of things at work. Work is work. Sadly, I can't have these long breaks that I hear from my friends that they get to enjoy, long winter breaks or whatnot. I can't have that benefit. That time has passed me by. So days of being a crummy old adult continue. Yeah. So now I think we'll transition to the YouTube side that you guys probably watching me have very big interest in. After all, you're watching this on YouTube, unless I've somehow struck a deal with a podcaster to put this on podcast services. But so Smash Brothers has had a lot happen this month. And if you recall, the video I put on my YouTube channel was the biggest thing is I think that the fifth fighter, who we didn't know at the time, should have been the end. And I'm kind of glad. I'm kind of glad that I didn't know who the fifth fighter was, because that last reveal was hysterical. It was one of the funniest things that I've seen in a long time. And so let me set the scene. I'm at work. I think the presentation was around 8:00 my time. So I'm at work to just busying away, and I'm still, I keep track of Nintendo stuff regularly. I like keeping up to date. So I'm like, okay, I know this Smash is happening. I know they announced the Direct a couple days ago. I had to double check when it was, because I don't know if they might have said, I thought somewhere it was like 7:30, so I was a little bit unsure. But then it was like, okay, 8:00, so I was able to get to a nice stopping point. And then I set up on my phone, and what's weird about my place is YouTube takes a long time to buffer for some reason at my work, but Twitter's video is somehow just flawless. Like, I can load a video clip, no problem. Like, I'm blocked from like Instagram there, and I'm sure many other services I haven't checked don't work, but that Twitter videos where I saw it, and he opens the video, Masaru Sakurai is there giving his spiel, all that good stuff, and then he said, "You'll probably know who it is upon the first couple seconds." So I'm intrigued. I'm like, okay. Then we shows it, and then I'm trying to contain my laughter, because I'm like in a business sense, and I don't want. Luckily, I'm in a cubicle, so people can't really see me. But oh my god, he's like, no, you got to be kidding me. You start this Fighter's Pass, you want to advertise to people. You start with Joker at the Game Awards 2018, and slowly but surely we're getting all these third-party characters. Say what you will about Hero or Terry or Banjo, whether you like them or dislike them. They've all been quote-unquote unique people. Probably the only person who maybe was like, people could have seen more coming if they didn't see leaks. People could have thought, okay, I could see that being a character is the Hero from Dragon Quest. They were thinking, okay, we've seen swordsmen in Smash Brothers. Possible that people thought people definitely see fighting game characters. Obviously, we see the Mii fighters with Heihachi and Tekken, but obviously Ryu and Ken from Street Fighter is there. But I don't think a lot of people, heck, you watch a lot of reaction videos, not a lot of people knew who Terry Bogard was, myself sadly included. I learned more about him, and it's great to know more about him. I think he's a great addition. And then he hype us all up. It's all third-party characters. It's all vastly different Nintendo properties. Two of the four games, two of the four franchises at the point aren't on Switch. We don't have a Banjo game. We don't have a Persona game besides the Scramble game, is that what we call it? Persona 5 S game that we're getting in a month. But at the time, we didn't know we were getting that game. Rumors were going to get Persona 5 on Switch. Never happened. But we don't have Banjo game. We have Dragon Quest 11. Clearly, they've advertised that up the butt. Then we also have Terry Bogard has all those SNK games. They're old Neo Geo games that were on the Switch when the series when all those were brought on board earlier in the Switch's lifespan. So then to just throw Byleth right there as the last fighter just made me lose it. And I will say, I think as I was watching it, as like I was formulating my thoughts, I was like, okay, now I see why we have another Fighter's Pass. Because if they ended the Fighter's Pass with Byleth, I think that would have been one of the sourest notes to end on. It just, if anything, what they should have done was make Byleth not the last one, if anything. If this was the last person, I guess now a lot of people are like thankful that we have the second Fighter's Pass. I'm still in the camp that it should have ended with the fifth fighter, even if the order was rearranged. If Banjo was last, or Hero was last, or Joker was last, like Terry and Byleth are probably the two that have not garnered the most attention next to Hero. Banjo and Joker have been these big, the big bonanza reactions, all that stuff. But the other three have been kind of more subdued, so to speak, depending on who you watch. But that, I don't want to dwell too much on that. But okay, so we have the fifth fighter, and then Sakurai goes in the presentation, obviously, talks about Byleth's moveset, and then he goes finally to, we have the additional DLC fighters. There we go. The additional DLC fighters, whereas at the time we didn't know how many there would be, or if there would even be a second season pass. But sure enough, he showed that there'll be 6 fighters, and there's going to be a second Fighters Pass, which, when all said and done, I think is the right move. I think that they should have another Fighters Pass. I'm not the biggest fan of buying them individually, because I'm a fan of buying them individually if you want, 3 of the 11 characters that'll eventually come out. That's fine. But there also is that span of, if it was only available individually, which you also have to look at this, which is actually an argument I kind of wish I brought up in my video, was now that we know how many characters are going to be, if this is it, you're paying more for these 11 DLC fighters and stages and music than the base game itself. Like, if you're paying them individually, that's around $6 per fighter. That becomes $66 before tax, versus the base game of Smash Ultimate, which is $60 before tax. So in that sense, I'm assuming this Fighter's Pass would be probably $30, because if you're doing simple math, $5 per fighter for the first Fighter's Pass, $5 per fighter for the second Fighter's Pass, you get $55. So, I'll be nice. You're technically not paying as much as the game, but you're still paying a hefty amount. So I'm still kind of citing that the Fighter's Pass should have ended with the fifth fighter. Nevertheless, as I said at the end of the video, I'm happy that they're continuing. I think you can clearly see Sakurai wants to keep going, even though he said in the video he felt a very personal attachment to these 5 fighters. He seems open. He seems, he obviously seems prepared and ready and his team to help usher in 6 more fighters that will eventually just invade our space for the next 2 years. So yeah, there's that. So now the question becomes, clearly, who will these 6 fighters be? I'm sure a lot of people probably thought that would be the extent of my video. It's not. I have a different idea for a video. I'm not going to spoil it here, but I have a different idea, and hopefully it'll be up in a couple weeks. But now we'll switch to the idea of there's 6 more fighters. Who are these 6 fighters going to be? So I decided I was going to spend 10 minutes myself, rack my brain, really 10, 15 minutes, rack my brain, really figure out who would be the best 6 and the most logical 6 to come out. And this is me not really doing pie in the sky selections. I don't have Master Chief on my list. I don't have Nathan Drake on my list. I have characters who I think would be more plausible when all said and done. So I'll just run down. These are in no order, and I'll maybe defend, but also detract myself as I'm saying these. So we'll start with, I think Crash Bandicoot. I think Crash Bandicoot is probably one of the best options. I think he's technically a Sony character, but he's also an Activision character, and we have the Crash trilogy on our on the Switch. And I think, if you wanted to swap that out for Spyro the Dragon, you could. And but I'm saying only one of them is going to get in. I think Activision is only going to play ball with one, and that's a theme you'll hear from a lot of what I'm giving, is that I think we're only going to give one per publisher, one per developer, and you'll hear one that might contradict myself, but I'll try to. But even then, that I'll say this thing is ranked on what I think is most likely to happen versus the least likely to happen. So Crash Bandicoot, I think, is probably the most confident I am in picking somebody. Next one is Rillaboom from Pokemon Sword and Shield. I think that we have the Pokemon trainer with Charizard, Squirtle, and Ivysaur, but we also have individual Pokemon in Incineroar and Greninja. We don't have a grass type, and I think Rillaboom fits that grass type archetype we have. I mean, you can always go back to get Meganium or Sceptile or Pokemon like that. But I think Rillaboom, I think they also want to just probably promote Sword and Shield. I could easily see that as the third. What I'm thinking is, I know I'm jumping all over the place, I apologize. What I'm thinking is they'll announce 3 characters this year and 3 characters in 2021, because the fine print at the bottom of the video said December 31st, 2021 is when they'll release all these characters. So my thinking is 3 characters 2020, 3 characters 2021. I'm thinking that the last character revealed in 2020 to help push the DLC for Sword and Shield is Rillaboom. So I would say that's pretty. I feel comfortable with that. I don't feel comfortable with any of these. All these could be wrong, and I'm perfectly fine with that. In fact, surprise us out of the blue. Get people out of nowhere like Terry Bogard and Joker. I'd be up for that. Next one, Travis Touchdown. We have the No More Heroes 3 coming out. We've had Travis Strikes Again came out 2019. I think Suda 51 is very tied with Nintendo. I think Travis Touchdown has a lot of good movesets. I think that's a very interesting idea. So those 3 are probably my most confident. These next 3 are just kind of, I was running out of ideas, and I was also kind of thinking, I'm not picking Master Chiefs. I'm thinking we already have an Xbox character, and I don't think Microsoft's going to play ball giving us 2 of them. Something along those lines. I don't have a lot of confidence that someone who's given us a second character is going to give us a double dip. So I don't think we're going to get another SNK character like that, especially since they showered us with SNK content in Terry's presentation. So next one I'm going to do is, this was rumored last year and then got deconfirmed when Terry was announced. Tracer from Overwatch. I think that with Overwatch coming to the Switch, it's a little more apt. I think we don't have a Blizzard character in the DLC yet. I'm trying to remember if we have it. I don't think we have a Blizzard character at all in Smash. So I think that would check that box off. I think Tracer's Tracer is whether you like it or not, Tracer is the face of Overwatch. Her face is on the box art.
So yes, I think Tracer would be the good choice for number 5. Last one I have on my list is probably one that would contradict a lot of what I've said, but I think is probably also plausible, and I'll give my reasonings. Sora from the Kingdom Hearts series. The pros and the favor would be that Sora's part of a franchise that's been around for 20 years and it's had a couple games on Nintendo systems, and a lot of fans who like the Kingdom Hearts series are also Nintendo fans, as from what I've seen. So I think that would be a natural fit. On the opposite end of the spectrum, I think that we're only going to see one representative from each company. So I think Square Enix has already given us a hero from Dragon Quest. So I don't think that will be the case for this. And also, at the same time, Square Enix really hasn't played the best of ball with Nintendo, so to speak. We have Hero, and yes, we have Cloud, but Cloud gave us 2 songs, and the Hero's given us 9 songs last I checked, versus the 11 for Joker, Banjo, and Byleth, and 50 for SNK. So I'm a little bit skeptical, and I'm not seeing a lot of things that would say Sora would be it. I've also heard people say Geno could be a possibility, but Geno hasn't really been part of a franchise for the last 30 years, and I haven't really seen rumors of a Super Mario RPG rebirth lately, so I'm just not really seeing that possibility. But hey, like I said, my 6 that I have are Crash Bandicoot, Rillaboom, Travis Touchdown, Phoenix Wright, Tracer, and Sora. But all these could be wrong, and I would be very interested to see what Sakurai has up his sleeve to provide us in this last Fighter's Pass. And I hope he and his crew take their time to get these all out, and they don't rush themselves, and they just take care of themselves. So now we'll transition from one big franchise to another big franchise, Star Wars. I'll give my thoughts on The Rise of Skywalker. And just a note, this will be a spoiler-filled discussion. It will be relatively brief. I'm not going to go too much into detail, but I just want to put it out there that if you have not seen the film, this is your warning. There's a timestamp below for when this will be done, and I won't bring it up again. So if you have not seen the film, I would recommend you go see the film. I think it's a good film overall, but if you don't want to be spoiled, here you go. So yeah, I think Rise of Skywalker was a fine, good film. I think that it was good to see Rey and Finn and Poe all together for one final adventure. Good to see Chewbacca in the mix. Good to see Billy D. Williams. I know he's looking pretty old for his age, but it was fun to see him nonetheless. Some things I didn't like about the film. I didn't like how Rose was used, or not used, I guess. It's only about 3 minutes of screen time. I really didn't like how Palpatine was always shown with like flashing lights. Like, it made it seem like it's supposed to be like a horror movie, but it's not. It's Star Wars. It's like a space opera. It's galactic sword fighting. It's not really, I don't really classify it as a horror film. And I was more annoyed and got a big headache from the flashing lights. My mom and I walked exit the theater saying, yeah, I probably need to go get some Advil because I'm not feeling too well from that. So didn't really like that. I was upset that they didn't use Carrie Fisher a lot. I know because of her passing, we didn't get a really opportunity to see her a lot. I kind of wish we did. But as far as that's concerned, the other big thing is I kind of didn't like how C-3PO was kind of used. If I can explain, he had, the fun times with the crew, and then the Babu Frick character, I think is his name, he was going to erase his memory, and then that would have been really sad. I kind of wish that they followed through with that. It would have been like, oh man, we got to restart this whole robot, sad to say. But then at the end, he sees R2-D2 and he's able to put his mind back and get his memories back. And just, I don't know, I kind of wish like that kind of took away from the impact of the moment. So that's the things I didn't like. The biggest thing I liked, though, was seeing Harrison Ford come back, even for like just 2 minutes, was just wonderful. Like, with all this stuff about Twitter and like spoilers in these days, I think it'd be very easy for something like that to slip. This didn't. I was super glad it didn't. And ultimately, it was great to see him bond with his son one more time. And I'm glad that we got that opportunity to see that. And yeah, I think Rise of Skywalker has a lot of pacing issues. I think some things go by too fast. Some things explode a little too much. It kind of reminded me of the prequel trilogy in that regard. But overall, I'm glad I saw it, and it's a good film. I'll just give you like my tier list, which is probably going to be very quick and also very boring because it is very pretty obvious. I kind of said the same thing in my last podcast, but here we go. Empire Strikes Back is number 1. Number 2 and number 3 can be swapped depending on the day, but I would go with probably now I say New Hope is number 2 and Return of the Jedi is number 3. I would say number 4 is The Last Jedi. I know people have a lot of disdain for that, but I think that film, especially in the hindsight of The Rise of Skywalker now, I think that film took a lot of risks. I think it was very taking the film to new heights, try something new, and I think it worked for the most part. I applaud taking risks as opposed to staying in the same lane for so long. So I'll put that as number 4. Number 5 is Force Awakens. Number 6 is The Rise of Skywalker. Number 7 is Revenge of the Sith. Number 8 is Phantom Menace. And number 9 is Attack of the Clones. I'm not going to put Solo or Rogue One in here. I think those are spin-off separate films. talk to me another day. I might fit them in somewhere. I think Solo and I would say Solo and Rogue One would probably be in another mid-tier film, maybe. So yeah, I think that's what I've take about Star Wars. I think it's overall a good franchise. I'm glad it's finally kind of taking a break with regards to films. I know we've got Clone Wars coming next month. We just finished The Mandalorian, and one day we're gonna get that Obi-Wan television show. But it's nice to see the films take a break, and hopefully the thing I'm going to talk about next kind of is better later on. So one of the things that I got a comment on Twitter, guy, one of my friends, at Shadow Leron, who said, why don't you talk about Echochambers, since you're talking about two of the biggest franchises out there in Smash Brothers and Star Wars. And I thought, that's a pretty good idea. And there might be a lot of rambling here, but I'll just give my kind of take on everything. So I think that Echochambers are just not, I don't like them. I think that they are good in the sense that you can find friends, bond with people over something. You can meet people by like saying, "Oh, you like Legend of Zelda? Cool." Or like, "Hey, you don't like it's like, that's just me. I don't say a lot of things I don't like. Hey, you don't like Star Wars? Oh, we're cool like that." Something like that. I should have said that, dang it. But people like to meet others and watch like videos based on like a certain take they might have. It's like, "Oh, shoot, you don't like this," or "Hey, you like this? Like, we should be friends," something like that. It's a great way to meet people, but you need to, in my opinion, you need to open yourself up to different takes from people in a respectful tone. Like, this is the problem. These echo chambers are so insulated that they think it's their way or the highway, and also their voice is all that matters. So when they're hearing a dissenting opinion, they'll want to counter it, but they'll not only counter it, they'll do it louder, which will only make the other side loud, which will only make them louder, which will only make the other side louder, until we're basically screaming at each other. And I don't like that. I don't see that happening in on the streets. I don't pretty see that much at cons. If I go to a convention, I'm not seeing that happen a lot. Like, I'm seeing it more for like cheering for like a show they're doing, or like going to a panel for someone you like. Maybe they'll like yell out questions or yell out "I love you" or something like that. But when you're seeing hostility, or when you're seeing bad reaction, stuff like that, you're not gonna see it. And heck, even if you see happy reaction, like screaming is not something you see in public. And when you do, it becomes a news story, or it becomes a report of like, this person didn't get their way and screamed and therefore was arrested or something like that. I'm saying for the farthest extremes, but you're not going to do that on the streets. So why are you doing it on Twitter, on Facebook, on these apps? Because there's not a fee to it, because there's not a there's totally anonymous, so you feel like you can get away with it. Like, that's the extent I'm seeing, is like, oh, I can get away with like yelling or berating this person for their opinion. Like, yeah, like, "Oh, you don't do this right, I don't like you, yada yada yada." Like, I hate that. I don't like seeing behavior like that. I remember when I was coming out of college and also coming out of high school, is like, when I was 2010 was when I got out of high school, and Facebook was still relatively big. And what I was hearing from instructors and parents is like, don't post bad stuff or stuff you wouldn't want to see, or employers wouldn't want to see from you on Facebook. And I took that to heart. Like my Facebook page is as clean as a whistle, so to speak. Like, people can go on there and they'll mostly see nothing that I would be ashamed of on there. Versus Twitter, I could probably think of a few tweets where I'm maybe like, I shouldn't have posted that, but they're there, and maybe I've deleted some stuff. But the fact that Twitter is kind of like the Wild West, and you can get away with anything with total anonymity, is terrible. Like, it kind of makes me wish there was some like things in place, like not necessarily like people patrolling comments, because I feel like that's not going to accomplish anything. But like, something I thought of that's going to be wild, that you're just immediately going to hate me for, is like, what if it cost money to put a tweet out there? Like, what if it was just a quarter, like a nickel or a quarter or something like that? What if it costs something to tweet? Wouldn't you think twice about putting it out there. Like the fact that I see these people on Twitter that have over 200,000 tweets already, or like a million that aren't like news outlets. Like I've seen people that have over 100,000, 50,000, 70,000, 100,000 tweets out there, like, over 10 years, that's not just posting them like, oh, come check out my YouTube video, or like, today I did this. This is people like responding to people, more or less maybe within friends, but it's also probably them like talking to commenters who are like, they don't share the opinion and doing that. And if it even cost a nickel, would people think about, like, would think twice about saying something and saying, do I really need to go after this person or like say my piece about this person? Like, I wouldn't think so. And I hate that it's kind of like free and anonymity, and we live in these times where these echo chambers just keep getting bigger, it just becomes shouting matches. And I wish that we could just have, like, sometimes I wish I could just say, hey, 5 people who didn't like Rise of Skywalker, 5 people who did like Rise of Skywalker, come into my direct messages, tell me what you like, tell me your take in 500 words or less. Do not attack me, or I will just dismiss you, because that doesn't accomplish anything. Like, that's another thing. If you're going to comment and give me criticism, great. Or if you're going to give someone else criticism, great. Don't then insult me in your comment about that, or don't just assume something about me. People always want to just preemptively have a stance and then be like, you better be on my side or I'm never going to see you again. Okay. What does that accomplish? It's just why can't we all just get along? There's so little time that we have on this earth. Why are we spending it being harsh and demeaning or forcing someone to like this? That accomplishes nothing. Like what you like, dislike what you like. Don't take that away from others, because I don't approve of that. So yeah, that's the extent of my podcast today. I've definitely, if you're probably hearing 2 different audios, I'll probably put this in the description. I probably tweet this out. I had issues recording this, and half my podcast didn't record, so I had to buy a new app, or not buy an app. I've downloaded an app to do better, and hopefully this works. But that's the extent of that. I'm gonna read. I'd like to end this with a quote that I do. So I'm going to go to my motivational quote for the day. And the quote I had was, don't stop when you're tired, stop when you're done. And I think that's very profound. I don't have an author here, but there's definitely times where I go into work, or I'm finishing up a video or something, or heck, even doing this. Like, I thought about maybe I should go get dinner and then come back later, but I was like, no, you're here. You can find a way to get this done. You can do it. Push through. Don't just stop because you're tired or you're bored. You'll feel better when it's done. So I hope you all take that. And that's the extent of the podcast tonight. It's a pretty short one, but I hope you all enjoyed it nonetheless. If you like this, I really appreciate you leave a like down below. If you want to see different stuff with this podcast, you can leave a comment down below to help me out. Leave me feedback. And if you like what I've done here, you can feel free to subscribe. Hoping to reach that 30 subscribers by the next video, and then go on my way to 40, 50. And hey, one day, hope to get 1,000. A man can dream. But again, if you also like what I do here, you can follow me at Twitter at JeffreyEngineer. Until next time, have a good evening.